Usually when you start using a new piece of software, like a task manager or maybe a new note-taking app.
Right, something to organize your life.
Yeah, exactly. If you open it up, you're just immediately confronted with this really rigid, predetermined world.
Oh, totally. It's like, here are your left-hand sidebars, your mandatory folder structures.
Subfolders, mandatory color-coded tags, the priority matrices.
Yeah.
I mean, before you can even jot down a single fleeting thought, the software is essentially yelling at you to categorize it.
It's exhausting. The architecture basically forces you to conform to its logic before you've even had a chance to, figure out your own workflow.
Right.
It demands all this metadata right at the exact moment of inspiration, which honestly can be incredibly restrictive and really paralyzing for the creative process.
Yeah, you just stare at the screen, get completely overwhelmed by all those required drop-down menus, and you just give up. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a massive 5-part framework that does the exact opposite. We're unpacking this really exhaustive masterclass designed to take you from a casual, maybe bewildered user to the absolute top 1% of power users for an application called Workflowy.
And what's really crucial to understand up front here is that the source material we're looking at today, it isn't your standard, top 10 hidden features blog post.
Right, it's way deeper than that.
It really is. It maps out this comprehensive journey. It's a literal 3-year roadmap to mastery.
Yeah.
We are tracking the evolution of user from just learning basic daily entry all the way up to becoming what they call a Year 3 systems architect.
It's basically a full curriculum. And while the sources, they focus explicitly on the nuts and bolts of Workflowy, the underlying concept we're really exploring here is it's much bigger than just one app.
Definitely.
This is really about building a completely customized personal OS, like a personal operating system.
Right, a way to actually combat modern digital information overload. And you don't do that by adapting yourself to some rigid corporate system, but by molding a fluid, kind of blank canvas to perfectly match the highly specific way your own brain actually works.
Like a literal extension of your mind.
Exactly. But to understand how anyone actually reaches that level of a master architect, we can't just skip ahead to the complex databases.
No, you'd get lost immediately.
You really would. We have to start at the absolute fundamental building block of this entire digital ecosystem. Because without mastering that foundational unit, any advanced architecture you try to build will it'll collapse under its own weight.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because according to the early stages of this masterclass roadmap, you don't start your journey by building complex dashboards or tagging systems.
Nope.
You start with a single, humble bullet point. In Workflowy, everything, and I mean absolutely everything, is a bullet point.
Which the system calls a node.
All right, a node. There are no separate text documents, no overarching project folders, no segregated databases, just bullets.
It is the atomic unit of the entire application. And honestly, that profound simplicity is what trips up a lot of new users who are so used to that heavy legacy software we talked about.
Yeah, my favorite way to think about this structure is it's like a digital matryoshka doll.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You know those Russian nesting dolls where you open them and there's just a slightly smaller one inside? You start with a single bullet point on a totally blank white screen. And underneath that, you can infinitely nest lists within lists within lists.
There is literally no limit to the depth you can go.
Not at all. But here's the real magic trick of the interface. You can zoom into any single bullet. You click the little dot next to a bullet point. That single bullet just expands to become your entire screen. The rest of the app completely disappears.
And what's really fascinating here is the underlying philosophy behind what the creators call the infinite outliner.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, by zooming in, which, by the way, power users do instantly, using the keyboard shortcut Control or Command, plus the right arrow key, you completely eliminate digital noise.
Right.
Think about the heavy cognitive load of a traditional application. You're trying to quickly draft, say, a grocery list, but out of the corner of your eye, in that persistent left-hand sidebar,
you see your overdue work tasks folder just glaring at you in bright red text.
Exactly. Instant stress. Your brain immediately starts processing the guilt of that overdue work task instead of, remembering if you need almond milk.
Yeah, that context switching penalty is real.
It is. And zooming solves that mechanically. When you zoom into your grocery list node, the work node physically does not exist on your screen anymore. Your environment is perfectly isolated.
I love that. And the initial phase of the syllabus focuses entirely on training the user in this rapid entry structure,
Yeah.
right?
The first 30 days.
You are doing nothing but using the tab key to indent a thought and shift plus tab to outdent it back.
It's all about building that physical muscle memory.
So you don't even have to think about it.
Precisely. The goal of this early phase is for your brain to learn how to capture thoughts frictionlessly. When an idea strikes, you shouldn't be pausing to think about which folder it belongs in.
Right, you should just be dumping it out of your head onto the screen and nesting it naturally under whatever thought preceded it.
Exactly. You're basically training yourself to treat the keyboard as a direct pipeline from your cerebral cortex to the screen.
But, and this is a major hurdle we definitely have to address, infinite depth is fantastic for capturing a brain dump.
Sure.
Logically, though, a giant, infinitely deep list of every single thought, task, and book note you've ever had is eventually going to turn into an infinite mess.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's the digital equivalent of having a bottomless filing cabinet with no labels. Once you hit month 2 or month 3, how do you actually find anything?
Well, that is the exact friction point that necessitates an evolution in how you use the tool. Once your brain is moving that fast, you inevitably hit a structural wall. And that's exactly where the roadmap transitions into intermediate and advanced organizing systems.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because to solve this mess of infinite lists, the framework introduces the app's most powerful signature feature. They're called mirrors.
Mirrors, yes.
And the best way I could describe mirrors is that it's like quantum entanglement for your notes.
I have to say that is a remarkably accurate analogy for how the underlying database handles the information.
Right, because you just highlight a bullet point, use a quick shortcut, I think it's Control Command plus Shift plus M.
Yep, that's the one.
And you create a live mirrored copy
Yeah.
of that bullet point anywhere else in your massive list. But it's not a static copy, like a standard copy-paste job.
Yeah.
If you change the text in one place, it instantly, simultaneously updates everywhere else that folder exists.
It's seamless.
So if you check it off as completed in your morning checklist, it dramatically crosses out in your master project outline too.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you really start to see why mirrors are utterly revolutionary for personal knowledge management. They mechanically solve what I call the one piece of info in two places dilemma.
Oh, the classic folder problem. I swear, every time I do my taxes, I freeze. Like, do I put this PDF in the 2026 finances folder or the urgent weekly to-do folder?
Exactly. In traditional systems, you are forced to make a compromise. You either duplicate the file entirely, which creates massive version control nightmares because you'll inevitably update one and forget about the other.
Oh, I've done that so many times.
Or you create clunky digital shortcuts that easily break. Mirrors eliminate the choice entirely. The information simply exists in both contexts at the exact same time.
That's wild.
And the sources we're reviewing detail how the single feature enables incredibly complex productivity methodologies to run entirely within this simple list interface.
Like the Zettelkasten method, right? Which the sources highlight for personal knowledge management, or PKM.
Yes. Zettelkasten is a brilliant example of this in action. For those unfamiliar, it's a networked note-taking system originally built with physical index cards in these little wooden slip boxes.
Very analog.
Very analog. But it was designed to help you find unexpected connections between ideas. Let's walk through how this works in Workflowy using mirrors. Imagine you are reading a book on behavioral psychology and you type out a great quote as a new bullet point under your book notes node.
Okay, tracking.
Using mirrors, you can take that exact same bullet and place a live copy of it under a node called marketing ideas, and maybe another under a node called habit formation.
Wow.
It's one piece of source data, seamlessly contextualized in 3 different areas of your digital brain.
So when you are writing like a marketing newsletter 3 months later, that psychology quote is just sitting right there waiting for you.
Exactly.
And the masterclass framework actually points to community pillars where you can learn these specific implementations. It specifically recommends reading Chunwei Lin's articles on building a Zettelkasten within Workflow.
Highly recommend. And you know, that mirroring concept applies beautifully to task management as well. The syllabus discusses integrating getting things done, or GTD principles.
How does that look in practice?
Well, you could have a node for a massive multi-month project, like redesign corporate website, that lives deep in your overarching projects list, but you know you need to call the freelance graphic designer today.
Right.
Instead of digging into the project folder every time you want to see your tasks, you just mirror that specific call designer task bullet and drop it right into your daily Kanban board.
Oh, let's talk about that Kanban board feature.
Yeah.
Because the sources mentioned it as a really vital everyday tool. You can turn any nested list into a visual Kanban board just by adding a specific tag, like hashtag board, right?
Yeah.
We're using a quick / command.
Yep, and it's really important to understand why this is so effective for productivity. A standard vertical list can feel infinite and overwhelming to the human brain. It sort of implies a never-ending amount of work.
Yeah, a bottomless pit of chores.
Precisely. By converting that vertical list into a horizontal Kanban board with columns for to-do, doing, and done, you completely shift the brain's processing from vertical reading to horizontal spatial relation. It feels finite. It feels manageable.
Because you physically see the card moving from left to right.
Exactly.
So you have a task progressing through those columns on your daily visual board, while simultaneously, because of that quantum entanglement, that task is checking itself off inside the massive master project outline hidden elsewhere in your system.
It is incredibly elegant, and the sources highly recommend Jessica Tell's Workflowy Academy if you really want to see how the absolute best utilize it.
It really is elegant. So by this point in our user journey, we have a perfectly interlinked, quantum entangled, self-contained digital ecosystem. Beautiful.
It is.
But no app exists in a vacuum. What happens when our perfectly organized, distraction-free digital brain needs to talk to the incredibly messy, really loud outside digital world?
And that friction brings us to the advanced transition. Moving from a power user to a systems architect. It's really about strategically breaking down the walls of the application and connecting it to external tools.
I actually want to push back on this section of the masterclass, if that's all right.
Sure, go ahead.
Because I found it highly counterintuitive. Workflowy is fiercely prized by its community for being intentionally lean. The whole appeal is that it's a blank white screen.
Right.
Doesn't bolting on a bunch of third-party Zapier automations, Airtable integrations, and complex user scripts completely defeat the purpose of using a minimalist tool in the first place? Like, aren't you just rebuilding the bloated, noisy software you explicitly tried to escape?
That is the exact paradox most intermediate users struggle with, and honestly, it's why this is considered master-level material. If we connect this to the bigger picture, setting up these external integrations isn't about adding clutter. It's actually about protecting that minimalist space.
Protecting the space. That's me.
We are giving your digital brain sensory organs to interact with the outside world without letting the outside world inside your head.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it.
Let's look at the mechanics of focus. Imagine you are deeply immersed in your workflowy environment. You're zoomed into a complex writing project.
Deep in the flow state.
Exactly. But suddenly, you remember an urgent email you need to reply to. Or maybe a coworker sends you a crucial link in Slack. If you have to minimize Workflowy, open Gmail, or open Slack, you have instantly broken your flow state.
Yeah, you're gone.
You've introduced digital noise. But by utilizing integrations like the email to Workflowy feature, or setting up an automation tool like Zapier.
Let's just break Zapier down for a second for anyone who hasn't used it. Think of Zapier as a tireless robotic assistant that sits between your different apps.
That's a perfect description. You can train this robotic assistant to watch your Slack messages. So, when your boss messages you to review the Q3 report, Zapier intercepts that, formats it as a neat bullet point, and quietly slips it into a designated inbox node inside your Workflowy account.
Without you having to do anything.
All of this happens asynchronously in the background. You don't get a ping, you don't see a red notification dot. Your primary interface remains a perfectly calm, distraction-free list. You process that inbox node later at 4 p.m. on your own terms.
So the robotic assistant does the heavy lifting of gathering the data so you never have to leave your flow state. That makes sense. And the official Workflowy web clipper extension does the exact same thing for research, right?
Exactly the same principle.
You read an article, you highlight a paragraph, click the extension, and it snags the URL in the text, dropping it right into your digital brain without pulling you away from the article you're reading.
The integrations handle the messy reality of data collection, preserving your sanctuary of focus. And speaking of that sanctuary, the visual customizability revealed in the sources is just staggering.
It really is. The syllabus discusses using browser extensions like Stylus to apply custom CSS themes.
Right.
CSS being the code that dictates how a website actually looks.
Yeah.
You don't have to stick with the default white screen. You can rewrite the code to make your personal OS look like a retro neon code from a dark mode minimalist canvas, or even a physical ruled notebook.
And we know from cognitive science that your visual environment deeply impacts how you work and process information.
Totally.
But the customization goes far beyond mere aesthetics. The sources highlight advanced community-built tools, most notably this really powerful user script called WFX.
Built by a user they literally refer to as the godfather of the Workflowy community, Robbins.
Yes, Robbins. This script acts as a massive power user toolkit. It basically injects custom macros and commands into the interface that the native application doesn't even possess yet.
That's incredible.
And for the true developers out there, the syllabus points to Workflowy's API.
Think of an API like a digital waiter. It takes data requests from one app, runs them over to another app, and brings the response back.
Precisely. With full API access, you have complete programmatic read and write control over your nodes. You could theoretically build your own entirely bespoke application, say, a custom fitness tracker on your phone that just uses Workflowy as its invisible backend database to store the bullet points.
It's just wild. Okay, so we've laid the foundation with infinite lists, we've solved the organization problem with quantum entangled mirrors, and we've given our digital brain sensory organs to interact with the broader internet.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But now we reach the final tier of this masterclass syllabus, the absolute blind spots and hidden gems.
The 1% ninja move.
Exactly. These are the secret levers that usually take years of daily accidental clicking to discover.
These are the micro efficiencies that compound dramatically over years of use. What mechanisms really stood out to you in this final section?
Okay, I am officially obsessed with how the system handles the trash.
Oh, yes.
Because in almost every other program on Earth, the trash bin is just a black hole. You delete a file, it goes into this weird digital purgatory, and finding it again to restore it is an absolute nightmare.
It's always a panic moment.
Always. But in Workflowy, deleted items aren't actually gone. They just live inside a hidden searchable node. It perfectly aligns with their core philosophy. Everything is a bullet. Even the trash is just another bullet point.
It is conceptually brilliant, and mechanically, it removes the psychological anxiety of deletion because you implicitly know the data hasn't been structurally destroyed, It's merely been relocated and hidden from your primary view.
And the other mechanism I loved was the natural language date parsing. Instead of the traditional friction of, clicking a tiny calendar icon, navigating to next month, and clicking the 14th.
Yours takes forever.
You just type the words, "Remind me in 2 hours," or "Next Friday." And the system instantly, automatically converts your text into a functional, clickable timestamp. You never have to take your hands off the keyboard.
Which, again, keeps you anchored in that elusive state of flow. Every single time you are forced to reach for a mouse to click a menu, you leak a tiny bit of cognitive focus.
It's so true.
But analyzing these hidden gems, the one that I found most psychologically impactful is the shortcut of double-clicking the home icon.
Oh, I actually tried that home button trick while reviewing the material.
Did you?
Yeah, I had been building out this massive, chaotic project outline. I was nested maybe 20 levels deep, just staring at a wall of text. I double-clicked the home button, and it instantly collapsed every single top-level bullet in my entire account.
It's completely reset the view.
It rolled the entire massive Matryoshka doll back up into its original neat little package in a fraction of a second. It was amazing.
It is a really profound feature. I call it the fastest way to physically reset your brain. When you are deep in the weeds, the cognitive load is immense. Double-clicking home wipes the slate clean mechanically.
Right.
It instantly returns you to that calm, high-level structural view. It acts as a palette cleanser for your working memory. And combining that baseline reset with another hidden gem turning filtered views into permanent bookmarks is where the real architectural magic happens.
Oh, right. Using the advanced search operators.
Yes. You can type highly complex mathematical queries into the search bar. For example, typing changed within 0.7D.
7 days.
Instantly, out of the tens of thousands of bullet points in your digital brain, the interface filters out everything except the exact nodes you have altered in the last 7 days. It is the ultimate tool for a Friday weekly review. Or you can search for a specific tag like to do, but tell the system to exclude anything you've already finished by adding is.complete.
And then you just start that specific search query, right?
Exactly. When you stall it, it pins that exact query to your left sidebar. vital to note that this is not a static search. It becomes a live, updating, dynamically filtering dashboard.
So it's always current.
Always, as soon as you tag a brand new item as a to-do anywhere in your infinite outline, it automatically populates in that sidebar view in real time. You are effectively writing your own custom software views without needing to know a single line of traditional code.
You are basically programming with bullet points. It's incredible. So what does this all mean for you? If you step back and look at the trajectory of this 3-year journey, it's honestly just mind-blowing.
It really is a journey.
You start with a single, simple, blank bullet point. You learn to endlessly nest it, zooming in to physically block out the noise of the world. Then you evolve, utilizing quantum-entangled mirrors to bend the rules of where information is allowed to live. You build robotic assistants to give your brain sensory organs, protecting your focus. And finally, you master the hidden search operators and shortcuts to bend the interface entirely to your will. You've essentially built a fully automated digital brain.
It is a remarkable progression of skill. But stepping back from the software itself, this raises an important question, one that goes far beyond Workflowy or any single productivity methodology.
Oh, where are we going with this?
Well, we need to acknowledge the meta context of the source material we just spent this entire deep dive exploring.
Okay.
This incredibly detailed 5-part masterclass framework, the syllabus, feature matrices, the Zettelkasten architectures, the hidden gems, the community resources, all of it was generated entirely by AI prompts.
That's right. The source text wasn't a published book. It was literally a series of iterative prompts starting with act as an elite software trainer.
Exactly. We just spent this deep dive unpacking a master-level 3-year curriculum that an artificial intelligence architected in mere seconds based on a user's prompt.
It's still just so crazy to me when you really think about it.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought for the listener. If an AI can instantly generate a personalized, exhaustive syllabus for mastering complex software complete with psychological methodologies, hidden community resources, and automated workflow blueprints, what does this fundamentally mean for the future of human learning?
That is a wild paradigm shift.
Yeah.
I mean, it completely changes the value of traditional tutorials.
As you go about your day, consider this. Are we rapidly moving away from the era where we spend years painstakingly learning how to use tools through trial and error, and moving toward an era where the only skill that truly matters is learning how to prompt the ultimate syllabus for anything?
It's like you're not just staring at a blank screen waiting to be told how to organize your thoughts anymore. You're staring at a blank screen that has the potential to become literally anything you ask it to be. Just a single blinking cursor waiting for you to make the first move.